Today on Jasiri, we're telling a story that sits at the intersection of immigration policy and real life. An American family says a change in U.S. visa rules from the Trump administration has turned what was meant to be a temporary stay in Nigeria into months of uncertainty. A routine immigration process suddenly shifted, applications stalled, approvals stopped coming, and before they knew it, returning home was no longer an option. They say they followed the rules, they filed the paperwork, they've waited, but instead found themselves caught in a policy freeze that has left their family in limbo, supported from support systems, careers on hold, and a future that is uncertain. This is a story that bears looking into, and that's what we're doing today. Joining us now are James and Kaylee Wilson, who have been left stranded in Nigeria after a visa policy change involving international adoptees has left them unable to begin the process of returning home with their youngest child. Today we speak to the Wilsons about their journey from adoption hopes to unexpected roadblocks and ask difficult questions about how policies affect families, children, identity, and the very meaning of home. This isn't just about politics alone. It's about real lives in limbo. James, Kaylee, thank you for joining us. Welcome to Jasiri.
Good morning.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah.
All right, so before the visa complications, there was a family making a deliberate choice to adopt, to expand their home, and also to follow what they believed was a clear process. So, Kaylee, let's start from the beginning. Why did you take us back to that particular decision? Why did you choose to adopt? Why Nigeria?
So I have always, ever since I can remember when I was a little girl, I've had a heart for adoption. It was just something, I guess God just put it in me, and I just always knew that I would adopt someday. And I didn't really have anything in my mind, particularly which country or anything like that. It was just something that was close to my heart. And when I met James, he had never thought of that before.
It just never crossed my mind. So it took me a little bit of time to come on the same page as she was on.
Yeah.
But.
And we had been dating 2 weeks, and I said, I know that I'm supposed to marry you, and I know that I'm supposed to adopt, and so God will change your heart.
Which I was open to.
So why did you choose to adopt in Nigeria?
Well, that is just where two of our children happen to be. Oh. So our first daughter that we adopted in 2016, she was the first one to join our family, and she is from Ghana. Okay. And so we lived in Ghana with her for 19 months. We got stuck over there, not due to an immigration ban, just due to a very slow immigration process. Yeah. And so she was our first, and then our other two just happened to be from Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so James, let me come to you.
Sure.
Adoption wasn't in your list of things to do before you met Kaylee.
Right.
And you said it took you a little getting used to. So what was that moment? What was it that triggered the moment that you felt you were ready for adoption that led you to Ghana to adopt your first child?
Right, so like she said, she had always wanted to, but for me, I had just never considered it. It wasn't something that had ever really crossed my radar. Yeah. And when she told me that God was going to change my heart, I was completely open to that because he had changed my heart in the past on other things. So we were living in California at the time, and we were at a church service that we had attended a mega church down there. And there was Mission Sunday. So Mission Sunday is when missionaries come from other countries and share the journey that they're on, the things that they're building, the children that they're helping, the communities that they're a part of. And this one particular missionary was from Kenya, and I saw him sharing the story about the school they were building and all the children that were attending this school and how so many of them had been orphaned. And I felt as I'm watching and listening to the story that my heart was literally just being pulled open, and I was receiving the heart of the Father into my own heart. And she looks at me and I'm crying. And she's going, oh, his heart has been changed. We get outside and I'm like, I don't want to just adopt. I want to go and I want to make communities, start schools, build hospitals. At the time, I'm just like...
He starts crying when we got out to the car.
My heart is just broken.
Yeah. It's the way Kaylee looks at James. I'm like, okay, wow. And I'm looking at the dimple too. Quite nice.
Yes.
All right. They'll say the third time is the charm, really. I know that you've adopted Emanuela from Ghana, and you've also adopted Eden from Nigeria prior to this time, and you had your daughter Harriet, and of course your son Valo.
Yes.
Now you're back to adopt another child, Oluwatoyin. We'll talk about the adoption process in a while because I know that it is time-consuming and very expensive. So I'm wondering, if you've experienced it 2 different times, why do you want to go again?
Because as hard as it is, a child's life is worth it. A child's life is worth us having to go through, you know, some annoying paperwork or invasive interviews, you know, 2 different governments investigating us, investigating our marriage, investigating our childhoods, our parents. Everyone has to go through, you know, just very rigorous investigation. And it's just because it's a child's life. And so to us, that is what we're focused on, is this child needs a family, this child needs a mommy and a daddy to love them, and we can do that. We can be that family for them.
So you came back to Nigeria to adopt your 3rd child, who would be your 5th.
Yes.
Third
Who would be your
adopted.
Yeah,
third adoption, but your 5th child.
Yep.
And you thought it would be a short stay. You've gone through this process before. So what timelines were you working with? James, let me ask you in particular, when you look back now with the election of President Trump, if you look at the antecedents of his first administration or his first tenure, were there any warning signs that this might just not be the same process you've been through 2 times already? What timeline were you working with?
So we never had a clear grasp on a timeline, but I didn't look at any incumbent president or administration as being a potential hurdle for what we are doing, because historically there's never been an issue when it comes to adopted children having access to immigrant visas through U.S. families. There's never been an issue. It's never been banned historically. That exemption has never been removed. So in terms of that logistic, there was no concern, no worry. We came knowing that it could take any period of time, and we were obviously hoping to be back in the U.S. by now. But you know, we are just completely surrendered to God's plan for our family, plan for our life, and focusing on the beautiful moments that we get to share as a family while we're here.
Well, just to be clear, what has kept the Wilsons in Nigeria is a presidential proclamation, you know, by U.S. President Donald Trump, which has impacted, you know, U.S. visa policy. And you know, this has actually affected international adoptees as well. So let's come back to you, James. Tell us about this proclamation that has made it impossible for you to go back to the U.S. To return with your youngest child. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so there have been several proclamations that have been released as time has gone on. The most recent one, which came into effect on January 1st, essentially says that any immigrant or non-immigrant visas from 19 different countries are being fully rejected, and then any immigrant and non-immigrant visas of certain categories are being rejected from 19 other countries, including Nigeria. So all 39 or so countries have been completely blocked in terms of immigrant visas, but then there's some countries that have some more non-immigrant visas that they're allowing. And then as of the 21st, the State Department released a memo saying that, or a memorandum, or I'm not sure how they call it, but they released a statement saying that there are now 75 countries that they're not issuing visas to because they are saying that these countries have a higher probability of the immigrants becoming public charge or taking public benefits. And so both of those things together are the new thing that we're looking at, but the removal of the adoption exemption is what's really affecting us, hundreds of other families.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because it's interesting because that focus is on immigration, because as you were speaking, I was just saying, but adoption is not, it's immigration in a sense, but it's not immigration in the sense of a visa, a B1 or B2 or whatever category. So it just felt really interesting that they made sure to, I guess, rope, because they could have provided an exemption, am I correct?
They have historically.
Yes, so there's been a historical exemption that was removed. Catherine, you have the next question.
Yeah, towing this line, I'm wondering how was it before all of this? How was adopting by American citizens internationally, like leaving the US to come to a country like Nigeria to adopt? How was the process before now? How was it smooth sailing, or was it just something similar to this?
Honestly, it's always been a case-by-case basis. So each child has their own story, and so the process for that child is a lot of times going to end up being about their individual circumstances, where they came from, and then you're taking into account the parents too. So you can say that there's this is smooth, this country's easier, this country's faster, but in terms of child by child, it can change drastically just based on the individual circumstances of the child and the parents and what the country is going through at that time. Because I can't compare this adoption to 2021, and I couldn't compare that to 2016, because each time, there's a lot of different variables happening. So just being confident in the call and the purpose for our life is really important, because we need to know that no matter what's happening, this child is worth it, and our family has signed up for it.
Very interesting. If you're following this story, you know that this is a very, very timely story that we're taking. Imagine waking up and one policy has upended your life. When you return, we're going to get into how a policy change will shape this family's life and what living in limbo has been like. And don't forget, you can share your thoughts with us via our WhatsApp number. So you know the number is always scrolling on your screen. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break.
You're watching Jasiri. Now, what turned the Wilson family's adoption journey upside down wasn't a personal decision, but a policy shift thousands of miles away. A change in U.S. visa rules suddenly altered their legal reality, leaving them caught between countries with no clear timeline for resolution. But beyond the policy and paperwork is the human story, the daily reality of raising children, building routines, finding community, and holding on to hope while living in limbo. This is where immigration law meets real life, and where uncertainty becomes a lived experience. James and Kaylee Wilson are with us today. They're the parents to 5 children, one of whom they are in the process of adopting here in Nigeria. Kaylee, I don't know if it was an interview I read or maybe in your conversation with Bernard Akede, our correspondent who sat down with you guys, you mentioned feeling stuck. What does that feel like, or what does that really look like in real life, practically and emotionally, especially when you have children, the first 4, that you sort of had to explain to them that the reason you're still in Nigeria is because you're trying to bring in Oluwatoyin, that's the name of the 5th child you're adopting. What does that feeling of stuck really look like for you?
I think stuck, it just means, it's that feeling of not being in control.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not going back. We're in limbo. It's unknown. And so I've been working on changing my mindset so that I'm not thinking about it like that, so that I'm thinking about it as more positive, like, okay, we're here, this is a special time as a family. I don't want to view it as just being stuck. How can we thrive here while we're in Nigeria and not just feel like we're just surviving every day and we just need to get through the day? I don't want it to be like that. And so that's something that's really important to us, is that our life, we don't want our life to feel like it's on pause. We need our life to continue on, and we need to do that for ourselves and for our children, and to make sure that everyone is just still enjoying living life.
We know that, being stuck wasn't the plan, right? But I would actually say from the videos that I've seen that you guys are adapting so well. And, it is good to see. But then I would like for you to tell us, how long have you been in Nigeria? How are you guys managing? I'm talking about, in fact, feeding a family of 7, it's definitely not a small feat. Not to talk of accommodation, healthcare, and the likes.
Yeah, so we've been here since March of 2025.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Almost a year.
No, I'm not kidding. I'm serious.
March.
Yes.
It's going to be a year. Wow.
Yeah, coming up on a
The
year.
adoption was finalized in March. So Oluwatoyin became our child as if by birth.
As of March 2025.
Yes.
Wow.
When were you meant to go back to the U.S.?
Well, we were hoping that it would be about 6 months, because that's what it was for our daughter Eden the last time we were in Nigeria. So we were thinking, okay, maybe it'll be, maybe 6 months. That would be great.
September.
Yeah.
But there are no clear timelines.
But nothing is promised.
They're
Nothing is
very
promised.
clear with every adoptive family that there's no clear timelines, and to always be prepared for there to be a lot of waiting. So
So how
There's hope.
So they both responded to the other
I said, wait, now, because I know with Eden, you had to leave at a point in time. Was it Eden?
No,
or
that was
Eden?
Emanuela.
With Emanuela.
Yeah.
With Emanuela,
Yeah.
you had to leave her at a point in time, and she stayed with Emanuela in Ghana
yes.
for how
For
many
6
months?
months by myself.
For 6 months by
Yeah.
yourself. And so it had been a situation of that waiting, and it had sort of lapsed into a point where there had to be some movement. But in this, now Oluwatoyin had became your child legally from the Nigerian authorities and adoption process March 2025.
Yes.
So what does schooling look like? Are they in school? Are you still homeschooling? What about healthcare, community? You were telling us during the break that James is getting on Okada and public bus and he's doing what he needs to do. But in terms of you're with the children every day, how is that for you?
I mean, we both just split responsibilities. It's actually a huge blessing to both be able to be home with our children. A lot of people, you know, the mom or the dad are out working, the children are at school that day, and so for us, we have a very close-knit, very tightly bonded family because we are together literally 24/7. And so, yeah, we homeschool the children. That's what we've always done. In fact, James and I were both homeschooled and for our entire education, and we loved it, and we knew that was something we wanted to do for our children. And so since we're able to keep that routine, nothing for the kids really feels that different. You know, they feel safe, they feel secure because they're with us, they're still living their life, we're doing school together as a family. There's different things, you know, some children are more focused on reading, writing, you know, sign language for our daughter Eden, who's deaf, helping her with her communication and her language development is a high priority for us. And so, yeah, and then the kids, they love going out. Our 2-year-old boy Valor, he thinks he's Nigerian at this point.
We need to feed him a back. You know,
I'm so sorry. This is a nosy question. What about finances?
Finances.
Yeah, we both work online. So.
We work online, and we saved up money before even coming here, and so James even worked at a grocery store, stocking shelves so that we could save up money so that we'd be able to live here. And but yeah, that's a huge blessing, and so we have the work online, and so that's able to support us while we live here.
you know, I'm very inspired, I must say, very inspired. But you know, curiosity will always come through because we are Nigerians, we're naturally nosy. Yes, so tell us, if this was me, I know family will be dragging you here and there. Is it my fault? Must you do it? Can't you just leave the child and be going? Do you have all those kind of pressure, like family saying, why don't James come back? You can stay with the children, you know? Are you having pressure, like, you know, having to separate the family? Maybe you might have to go back, James might have to stay back. Are you having those kinds of
Pressure, you know,
pressure from your family or his side of the family?
There was some discussion at one point in time, and about just what would it look like if like I took some of the kids and went back to the U.S. And ultimately we just decided, no, like, what are we saying? We're not separating our family again. We already decided we're never separating our family again. And so our families understand that. And so they don't put pressure on us. They don't try and tell us what to do.
Yeah.
They know that they can't tell us what to do. At this point, we just kind of do what we want.
Honestly, you guys are just made for each other. You're like the same, both sides of the same coin, really. So let me ask you this, it's quite personal. What has surprised you the most about Nigeria? I mean, we all know that Nigerians are kind, but apart from the challenges, Nigerians are kind.
Yes.
They've said it now. Nigerians,
Kind people.
Nigerians are kind. I mean, what has surprised you the most about being here? In a good way, of course, and maybe even if it's not in so good a way, but still. What has surprised you?
Like you said, the people are so friendly. The people, you know, if we're walking down the street, everyone wants to say hello to us, and it's not like that in America. You know, and maybe that's because, you know, people know that they can tell we're foreigners, so, you know, they want to say hello. But so that part is
being
special.
able to walk up to anyone at any time and have a conversation with them is really cool for me. My grandfather did things like that in America, and that he was in a time when that was more acceptable. Now people will be like, what do you want?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you leave me alone? But I like being able to just start a conversation with anyone. I always have like super in-depth conversations with my Uber drivers or even there's a couple Okada guys that I've got their number and I'm like closer to, and I have good conversations with them. When I'm walking, I try to always, stop and ask people how they're doing if I have the opportunity to do so, or if they're obviously not in a hurry. I appreciate that. I think being a part of a culture right now that is more socially open and community based, as opposed to maybe how some cities would be in the U.S., is very refreshing right now.
So I noticed he had long hair. Yeah,
You look like Jesus Christ.
Jesus on the road.
You look like Jesus Christ.
Jesus! What happened to the beard?
Yeah, that was in 2021 when we were going through that period.
2021.
Yeah.
So you just talked about community right now, and is there like an adoptive parents community in Lagos or in Nigeria? And even beyond that, what about other families? As we said earlier, this is not a policy that's only hitting you. It's hitting hundreds, maybe probably thousands of families, American families that are in the process of adopting internationally. Have you been in touch with anybody? What are the stories that you might be hearing from others who are unfortunately caught in this same policy limbo?
Yeah, so they're seeing our videos, and so other adoptive families are reaching out to us, which is great. And because it's really good to connect. I don't know of anything specifically. There's no like group like in Lagos or anything like that, but we have connected with some other families who are adopting from Nigeria. Some families have been waiting to bring their kids home since 2023, and one family.
The policy had not changed.
The policy had not changed, but it was slow. It was still a slow immigration process. And so they actually they're adopting twins, and they actually had a visa appointment coming up in February, and they're not going to be able to attend it because they know that it's going to be rejected, and so and they haven't seen their kids in over 2 years.
So the kids are here and the family is there.
Because most Americans are not able to come and live in country
through the process.
And we understand that, and we're very grateful that we're in a position where we're able to do that. But most of the children who are affected by the immigration ban are still in orphanages. Some of them are maybe with foster families, but most of them are still in orphanages. So they are separated from they're legally adopted by Americans, and they're living still in an orphanage.
So the process is that once the legal adoption is finished, once the child crosses into the U.S., they automatically then take the status of the parent. So it's that crossing into the.
It's so simple. It's so simple. They just need to land the plane, get off the plane, and you're an American citizen. Because the parents are.
Yeah, I know of a friend of mine who's in a similar situation because she had like surrogate children born here, and she's caught in the limbo too. She hasn't been able to return.
The lady I met.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
She hasn't been able to return with her children, and it's quite demanding. And let's even talk about, cultural or...
Oh, let's not go to culture, just... we're getting there.
Before we get to, the cultural thing, what other options have you pursued? Would like to know if there are any alternate routes for you to follow. And we know you've spoken about the policy quite a lot, but we also want to know, does it make sense to you?
Oh, no. No, it doesn't make sense because they're saying that it's to protect the United States, and how is a child who's legally adopted, how are they a threat to national security? And so we want to think that it was an oversight and that it was a mistake, because like we said, it's never happened before. And so I'm just hoping and praying that this was just a simple mistake. They accidentally removed the exemption for the adoption visas, and they're going to remember, and they're going to put it back in.
So what about your representatives, whether it's your senator, your congressman, who have you been in touch with stateside in regards to the situation?
We've been in touch with our senators. My mom back home is calling. His parents are calling.
My dad's emailing the White House.
So our families, they're doing that. But it doesn't really seem like there's really anything the senators can do. It's a presidential proclamation, and then there's another proclamation put out by the Department of Homeland Security, and it just doesn't seem like that route is really going to help us.
So wait, there's no exemption to this situation. So they can't say, okay, you know what, even if it takes us a year, 2 years, we're going to do a case-by-case basis to look at going around our own proclamation. They're not
There's nothing like that. There are specific United States national interest waivers that can be submitted through Secretary of State, Homeland Security, and there's one other agency that can give a waiver. But that's only they're only allowed to do that if the case would directly, positively impact the national security interest in the United States. And so,
I don't think they're
in
gonna.
the same way,
yeah.
in the same way that no adopted child has ever posed a terrorist risk in the United States, no adopted child has ever posed a national security interest in the United States. So,
Unless we make enough noise on the internet and they're like, we need to get these people to be quiet, so let's let them in.
Okay, we need to take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll talk about the adoption process. And if you didn't know, he's mentioned the FBI was actually involved as well as the Department of Homeland Security in the United States, and as well as national interest here or national agencies here in Nigeria. The conversation continues after.
All right, you're welcome to the second half of the show on Jasiri here on News Central. Our guests today are James and Kaylee Wilson, an American couple who are now stuck in Nigeria due to a change in the U.S. visa policy that affects international adoptions. The couple came back to Nigeria last year to adopt another child, but with the visa policy, they found themselves and their children in a new normal. Now, before the break, we're talking about the adoption process. Kaylee, in a previous interview, or I think it's both of you, who mentioned that, you know, it's detailed and complicated, the process of international adoptions. And then some people would be asking, why don't you just adopt in the US? I mean, there are also kids who need loving homes there. So why, if it's this complicated and stressful, why don't you just stay local? Yeah.
Well, we believe that every child is valuable no matter which country they're from. And a lot of people do want us to, they say, why don't you adopt locally?
Yeah.
And I would like to ask them, how many children have you adopted locally? And we are totally open to that.
Yeah.
We are totally open to adopting from the US, adopting from Colombia, any country. We are totally open to that. But that is just not where God has led us up to that point. And that's just not where our children have been.
Yeah.
Except for our biological children.
Yes,
They were
of course, definitely.
they were born in the US. But yeah. So it doesn't even really feel like it's been our choice.
Yeah.
Because it's just God presents these children, he highlights these children, it's like a light, and it's like, that's our next child.
Yeah.
And we don't know where they're from in the moment until we inquire, and so, yeah, that's how it is.
I have so many questions, post questions. But, yeah.
I just want to ask, you know, for international adoptions, especially post-COVID, both governments, that is the home government and the government from which the child will be adopted, are meant to be involved equally. That means where you're from and where you're adopting from. What are they looking for, really? I know there have been interviews, assessments, all sorts of things are done. So what are they really looking to find? Because I hear that the FBI, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and others have been involved. So what were they hoping to find in all the assessments and interviews?
they want to make sure that there's no evidence of any abuse in our childhoods, in our parents' marriages. So they go all the way back to how did our parents meet? What was their marriage like? What was your childhood
Sorry,
like?
you said what?
They want to make sure that there's no
All
abuse.
the way back to your own parents' marriage.
Absolutely.
Is that not? That's what we call
Because-
generational trauma.
Because you know, if there is evidence that this man has sexual abuse in his childhood and he was abused by someone, then there's a larger likelihood of him growing up and becoming an abuser. So they want to get the full gambit, the full grasp of our childhoods, our parents' marriages, see how everything was, see what kind of religion they abided by, what kind of religion we abide by. They want to look at our finances to be sure that we can financially take care of another child. They want to make sure that there's no history of domestic violence between us. They want to make sure that there's no history or issue of domestic terrorism or affiliates with any other terrorist groups internationally, because all those things would be vectors for potential issues in the United States if we were to bring a child in.
It's fascinating to hear that. So having gone through this process, is there anything about international adoption that you think is maybe misunderstood or an assumption that people tend to have, even by people who mean well in the system. And what do you think needs to change? Do you believe adoption cases should be treated differently than other visa categories, given the experience you've had?
I mean, just kind of like on a basic level, some people, they think that maybe we're adopting internationally because it's like a cool thing to do, or that, I don't know, that we're doing it for attention, or we've been called white saviors, or just lots of things.
I have a question about that, but
Okay.
we'll get to that, but continue.
We'll get there. And so that always, it just hurts so much because people just don't know like what we've had to go through. And so they're just kind of throwing out these things which they don't understand. And it's like, oh man, we have gone through so much to bring these children into our families. And then I don't know if you want to touch on what she said about
I wanted to add to what you said in terms of misconception. People will say things like, you need to send those children back.
Yeah.
What?
And
You rip them out of their culture.
Even with our
yeah.
first daughter, Emanuela, who's now 11, and she was 2 when we adopted her.
And you thought
they
you were told she had HIV when you adopted her.
Right.
And it turns out she didn't.
She didn't.
Right.
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 Okay, continue. So
So
sorry.
they say in reference to her that it would be better for her if we sent her back now. Back
Who
to
is
the
the
orphanage that we...
Who is the they? Is that coming from people in Nigeria? Is that coming from people in the U.S.?
That's coming from people who don't have a clear grasp on reality and don't understand the situation, the circumstances, or everything that goes into it.
So a child that's been with you for 9 years should
You
be
can say they're
sent
U.S.
back.
You can say they're Nigerian. You can say they're Ghanaian. You can say that they're Kenyan. I don't know or really
Internet
care where they come
community.
from.
It's the
just
internet.
people,
Okay.
Internet.
people who just haven't been informed or have been jaded by other things that they've read online.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that, JD, but we need to take a pause now because we do have a live event happening, and we're going to our correspondent, Victor Mbadike, who is on the ground at Ikeja Underbridge, where residents and activists are holding a mass protest against demolitions and forced evictions across parts of Lagos State. Now, the organizers say thousands of homes and businesses have recently been demolished or threatened by the state, and of course, we know we've spent a number of times this past week or two talking about the situation in Makoko that is at the front of many people's minds. So let's go to Victor very quickly now. Victor, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
All right, Victor, just very quickly, tell us about the groups that have come together for this this protest or this march right now at Ikeja Underbridge.
Well, for some of us who have been following proceedings for quite some time now, we did know that someday like this is going to come because in recent weeks and months, we've seen the Lagos State government, go about demolitions, evictions around places in Lagos. Very much recently was what you saw in Makoko, and of course the Iyanowolo incidents where buildings, homes occupied by Lagos residents were demolished for reasons best known to the government. But of course today, I'm coming live to you right here at Ikeja Underbridge, where we have a coalition of different society groups who have come out to say there has to be a stop to these what they call menace by the state government, demolishing homes of residents of Lagos who clearly do not even have any other place to go to. You saw an incident sometime early this week or maybe late last week where Makoko residents, some of them had to resort to sleeping in boats after their homes were demolished at Makoko recently. So what we have right now are these protesters here, asking government, what else do you guys want us to do? Where do you want us to go to? Where should we sleep? Our businesses have been destroyed. What alternatives do you have for us? For the fact that you have genuine reasons to demolish these houses or evict us from our place of abode, do you have any other alternatives? Let's quickly speak to Zekora, one of the officials of Kapan, the organizers, to give us exactly why we are hell-bent on these protests. Could you please face the camera and tell us exactly? Because I do understand that these protests almost didn't hold for some reasons, but we insisted that this protest should hold. Tell us why that has to be, and what exactly do we need to get out of this protest?
Well, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean when you say that the protest did not hold for some reasons. These communities have been protesting ever since the demolitions started in their community. So what you're looking at is a gathering of displaced, dispossessed residents of Lagos State, from including Makoko, Shogunre, Owodo-Oniri, Ajegule. These are people that have been violently and forcefully displaced from their homes. Makoko, especially since December last year, have faced violent demolitions by state actors, by demolition teams endorsed by the Lagos State government that have gone into their community under the pretext of clearing houses within a 30 to 100 meter perimeter line close to power lines, and that was accepted. But this has now become a maneuver for those demolition teams to invade the community and continue to demolish well beyond the 100 meter perimeter. So as we speak to you, we have women, children, entire families are now sleeping on boats because their houses and homes have been illegally demolished. Now, what the Lagos State government has continued to say is that it only entered Makoko to clear houses within a certain perimeter of the power line. That is 30 to 100 meter perimeter of the power line. But what has happened is that these demolitions have extended beyond that. So we are asking, who gave the order for the demolitions to extend beyond the perimeter that the states acknowledged and agreed to in the first place? Who gave the order for women, children, men, and 4-day-old babies to be killed in Makoko? We consider this a violation, a gross violation of the human rights, the human rights of Lagosians. We consider this an indignity. We consider this a stain on the conscience of the Lagos State government. These people you are looking at, they are evicted from their homes without alternatives, without compensation, without any sort of dignifying consultation. So we are asking, what kind of Lagos State are we building? Who has the right to stay in Lagos State? Does it mean that if you are poor, if you live in an informal community, you can't be in Lagos State?
What are your major grounds? Is it the demolition or the fact that there are no alternatives? Because the state government will tell you clearly that they've met with some of their leaders in some of these communities and probably met with them.
I've just told you that what has been in the news by the Lagos State government and what it has even accepted that it went into the community to do was to clear houses within 30, 100 meter perimeter to the power line. And what has happened now is that it has extended beyond that and demolished houses that were not even under the power line. And it has killed babies, it has killed men, it has killed women through tear gassing, through the violent and brute use of force. So are you asking me, did the Lagos State government agree with the elders to kill their babies and their children in the process of demolition? Is that what you're asking me? So what we are just asking is for the state to halt all illegal demolitions. As I speak to you, there is a subsisting court judgment that asks the Lagos State government to desist from victimizing these residents. But it has violated the judgment. So what kind of state is the Lagos State portraying itself to be? It wants to be an unruly state. What does it expect of people that it governs? Not just in Makoko, in Oweroshoki, in Bariga areas, they are facing demolition. So you want people, this is a state-sanctioned homelessness going on. Yes.
All right, thank you. Well, Tolu and the Jasiri team, the momentum is gradually building, and we expect that they'll begin to march towards the state government house in no time from now.
Okay, Victor, you answered the next question I had in terms of where they were heading to. So that means they're coming towards Alausa, and I hope we will have a team also ready to meet them. But can you just give us an idea of the crowd that has gathered there? What is their number? And even in terms of security as well. You know, often with these kind of marches or protests, security becomes a concern. Police will say something about it's been hijacked by thugs and then ask people to disperse. What is that situation right now regarding this march?
So let's start with the great numbers of these protesters. I can tell you for free, Tolu, that these numbers definitely will grow beyond what you are seeing currently. When we got here earlier, they were just in trickles, in just 2s and 4s and 6s and 10s. But now we've seen buses come around, dropping off the victims from various parts of Lagos, whether from Makoko, Ajegunle, Iyanoworu, and every other part of Lagos. So we still have more buses coming to join. Victims coming in their numbers to join this protest, and they are all ready to march to the state house to make their complaints to the state government. Again, just so you know that we have security presence, all the police surrounding this protest, just to ensure that everywhere is calm and peaceful, so that we do not have folks infiltrating this particular protester. So in terms of security, it's top notch. And that's kudos to the Commissioner of Police, who was earlier with us. Spent about 5 to 10 minutes to ensure that everything was, going on fine. And so that's much we can take. look at the protesters. I'm pretty sure they are ready to speak to us. But Soweto wants to talk to us, so let's get to talk to Soweto very quickly. Just go ahead, Soweto. Just go to it and just talk to your people. Just go ahead.
All the greatest Nigeria people. Today is the day the Lord has made. No force on earth, can stop us today. Governor Sanwo-Olu cannot stop us today. The Commissioner of Police cannot stop us today. The Army cannot stop us today. Today is a day that the poor people of Lagos State are marching to demand their rights. We are marching to demand dignity. We are not dogs. We are not dogs. We are not chicken. We are human beings. We have a right to shelter. A governor that has not built houses for us has no right to take what we have. Today is to say enough is enough. Oh yes. To force eviction. Oh yes. To demolition. Oh yes. And to land grabbing in Lagos State. Oh yes. Governor Sanwo-Olu's government is a government of land grabbers, yes, by land grabbers, yes, and for land grabbers. Yes. That is the definition of this government. Yes. The governor himself is the chief land grabber of Lagos State. Yes. We are here to say, stop the bulldozers. Oh, yes. Stop the bulldozers in Makoko. Oh, yes. Stop the bulldozers in Owode Oniri. Oh, yes. Stop the bulldozers in My 12. Oh, yes. Stop the bulldozers in Sokuro. Oh, yes. Stop the bulldozers in Bariga. Oh, yes. And we are using today to expose the Lagos State government to the world. Oh, yes. To say that a mega city cannot be built on the blood and bones of the poor. Yes. There are other cities in the world. Yes. In fact, waterfront communities like Makoko, they are everywhere across the world. Oh, yes. Why is it that it's only in Lagos State that we are pursuing waterfront?
I can hear you. Go on. I can hear you.
In other parts of the world, people who live on the water are allowed to live there. Oh, yes. People who live on the water, they are essential to food production. Oh, yes. All the fish that we eat across the country today are produced by them. Oh, yes. They do not deserve to be shot at. Yes. They do not deserve to be killed, oh, yes, in the middle of the night.
Oh, well, I do know that we are all pressed for time, but I'll ensure that we bring you proceedings as this protest continues to the State House at Alausa.
We're actually running out of time on the show. Let's come back to our guests in the studio, the Wilsons, James and Kaylee. You are Americans, right? And you've adopted from Ghana and also Nigeria. So tell us, as a family formed across, cultures and borders, how are you thinking about helping your children hold on or even maintain their Nigerian and Ghanaian identities, and not just as heritage, but as lived experiences, especially when you return to the U.S.?
Well, they're definitely getting to experience it right now because we've brought them back. But just taking their culture back to the U.S. with us and making sure that we are just excited about their roots of where they were born. So for our Ghanaian daughter, we celebrate things that are Ghanaian and watch Ghanaian parades and just different things. If things are happening on the news, and keeping that culture alive. And then also just remembering and realizing too that there's different types of culture, right? So there's the culture where you are born, and then you have your family culture and your church culture, and we want our children to be very secure in their identity. I don't want my children's identity to only be in the color of their skin or where they were born. First, I want their identity to be in Jesus, and I want them to be able to go through life with that confidence, you know, and their identity as part of our family and how loved they are and how much they belong here. And then kind of after that, they can choose, you know, where they want their identity to be. And even our deaf daughter, you know, she has a deaf culture there. So there's just different cultures and different things that we want to make sure that we're bringing into our family and including everybody.
Kaylee, I must ask you, for the sake of Ghana and Nigeria, have you learned how to make Nigerian or Ghanaian jollof?
I have not made it myself, but I have watched it. I have watched it be made, and we have eaten it, yes.
I think we have to really go on the challenge and make you cook.
Are you going to have a cooking show? We
Yeah,
can do
so
it right
that you
here.
do Nigerian jollof, and we'll be sure that you can take that culture and add it to the family culture.
Yes.
My final question for the two of you. You mentioned the white savior conversation, and some people view international and cross-racial adoption through a very skeptical lens, and I think, James, you also referenced that as well. There's often cynicism around white families or foreign families adopting non-white children, and of course people tend to frame that around this white savior lens. There are children who need adoption in Nigeria, in the US. We just talked about that now. You guys responded. How deep is that perception in terms of the journey you've gone through? How deeply rooted do you think that perception is? And how do you respond to it, especially given your lived experience as a family? I'd like to hear from James and then Kaylee.
Honestly, from any angle other than just ignorance, I can't speak to people's intentions, but I can say that there's definitely ignorance, and we try not to focus too much on negatives, because if we get too hung up focusing on negatives, then we can't move forward with the things that God has called us to do with our children. But I know that you have some thoughts about that as well.
I mean, like you said, I think people just don't know. I think just a very basic understanding is they just assume things, or maybe they've heard some horrible news story, you know, and it's like, but if anyone takes the time to watch our videos and get to know our family, they can instantly see, like, okay, this is real love here. There's no ill intentions. They love all of their children equally. And really, that's all we can do is show our family and show this example. Like we want people to see our family. We want them to see love. We want other people to be inspired that maybe they could bring a child into their family as well. And because there's so many children that need homes, there's so many orphans, and even here in Nigeria, you know. And so, just that we just want people to look at us. You know, there's a Bible verse that says, you know, may they look at you, may they see your good works and glorify the Father in heaven. So we are not doing this for attention. We're not doing this because we want people to say, oh, wow, this is so amazing. Look at us and then glorify the Father in heaven, because He's the one that has arranged for all of this, and it's His plan that we're surrendered to.
Wow, very, very inspiring story. I really need to say thank you very much to you, James, and of course to you, Kaylee, for sharing your story. This conversation reminds us that immigration policies are never just about borders and documents. They're about people, families, and children whose lives are shaped by decisions made far away from them. The story you've heard today forces us to look beyond headlines and politics and to sit with the human cost of policy shifts, the waiting, the uncertainty, and the resilience required to hold a family together in the middle of all of this. As debates around immigration and adoption continue, stories like this will challenge us to ask better questions. Who do our policies protect? Who do they leave behind? And how do we ensure that compassion doesn't get lost in the process? Thank you very much for staying with us on Jasiri today. Tomorrow is another interesting conversation that you don't want to miss. We're discussing the death penalty. It's on the books. but is it in the works? So join us again tomorrow. But from us today, we want to say bye. See you again.